we're still here.
So,
as we said, we're still here.
It's the type of news.
Temporarily.
Hello, how are you? It's Dutch Pyramid.
No, it's Senator Robinson. Yes, it's ring on, Olivia.
So, as we all know, the Premier has reshuffled his cabinet. Now, listen.
I had to get a coffee for this one.
Listen. This reshuffle comes with a lot of strings attached.
That is the understatement of the year. Let us pull up. Because it's not simply just a reshuffle. It's almost like a rebranding.
Yeah, it's a...
Like, people are taking on ministries that... A lot of weird... shuffles? Like, if I'm correct, isn't Minister Wilson now, like, in charge of, like, child services and everything?
well, you had to pull it up, but...
I don't know.
As far as I know, it's kind of convoluted because basically an entire ministry was kind of dissolved and split up, and then other ministries were moved around as well. So immigration is under national defense now, so national security. So it's like, you know, it's
why
you gotta track it.
Immigration under national security.
I'm glad they put out that chart because I was reading that and I was like, well, okay, this makes a little bit more sense.
I mean, Minister Simmons is now a minister without portfolio.
Yes.
If I remember correctly, wasn't Minister Simmons and the rest of the PLP giving Wayne Scott a bunch of shit for being a minister without portfolio back in when he during the OBA's tenure?
Yeah, and like I said, we can go down.
And Zane's back.
We can go down which party did it better, but
no, let's ask a question. Zane De Silva is now the minister of what now?
Tourism.
Is it?
Minister of Tourism.
Minister of Tourism. You know what's funny? Minister Simmons isn't even on here. Miss Kathleen Simmons, but Minister Joel.
No, he's not going to be on there.
That's a minister without portfolio.
It's not really in the cabinet, is it?
Then why is he still a minister? So, is he still getting minister's pay? Yeah. Now, I don't have a... Now, listen. I ain't got no problems with Jamal. We squashed that beef a while ago. But I have to ask, if he's a minister without portfolio, are you still getting that minister's check?
Yes.
Also, why is Zane De Silva the Minister of Tourism now? What makes him more qualified than Minister Simmons? I'm not asking to say that one's more qualified than the other. I legitimately want to know why is the switch? Especially because if I recall correctly, Zane De Silva resigned.
Well, here's the thing. There's a lot of strings attached to this because when you look at it, a lot of people are saying that Minister De Silva has come back to cabinet now because he resigned
not too long ago.
Before because some would say
fiasco.
Yes, some would say in the presence of that. I mean, of course, it's hearsay. I'm not going to say it's fact, but it's very convenient that he resigned at the time which he did.
And now that he's back after they gave him that couple $1 million,
it looks as though okay, Uncle U was happy I can come back now, and that's not good optics for me. And then the other optic is you have given a Ministry of the Cabinet Office, which has historically been under the Premiership. So now we need an entire new minister for that, and I think it's other responsibilities he has, but it just, to me, begs the question.
Who's this?
Walton Brown, I believe. I mean,
oh, right, yeah. Walton Brown.
Yeah, so it's like he has other responsibilities, but it begs the question of like how exactly are we measuring?
Who was the previous Minister of Finance? Who was the previous Minister of Finance?
Who was the previous Minister of Finance?
I'm just being stupid.
I was about to say. I was like, who you think?
No, Senator. Don't get your britches in a twist.
Here's the thing. Out of the silver lining of the entire thing is Mr. Curtis Dickinson. I feel as though he is extremely qualified, and I think he is like the silver ray of sunshine, that entire reshuffle. I think that he is super qualified. Dude, I heard nothing about how great he is. Like, all I heard is that he's this financial guru. He has his stats. He has the qualifications.
It's not even just that. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's great.
Every time, you know, I have nothing
more about the stats.
I have nothing but good things to say about Minister Dickinson.
That's right, and Minister Dickinson is, to me, the silver lining in this whole situation, because, I mean, the budget has been a concern for me for a long time, and for many others, and for hopefully the entire country. And to know that it's in the hands of somebody who is qualified and can really, really, really hone in on it, because, I mean, Premier Bart has been busy with fintech and cryptocurrency. So,
well, we hope he's been busy with fintech and cryptocurrency. Well, I'm still a little iffy about that, because cryptocurrency, fintech sitting there saying, well, arbitrate, and saying, oh, we have $15.6 billion. I'm curious how much of those $15.6 billion is going to the economy. I'm also curious as to where that $15.6 billion came from. Because if I remember correctly, and don't quote me on this, but they said that it was coming from Dubai, but Dubai said that gold ain't ours. So that is, what was it, 392,000 kilograms of gold? I'm a little iffy about the whole cryptocurrency thing, especially with I'm more iffy on arbitrage rather than cryptocurrency, because you're like, all right, we got gold. Okay, cool. Where'd the gold come from? Just trust us. Okay, cool. But legally, your track record says not to trust you. Just go along with it.
No.
I'm not calling them liars. I'm not saying that they're like betraying the trust of the island. I'm simply saying it doesn't feel, it feels fishy. Now, it could not be fishy, and I would sincerely hope that it isn't, but in regards to the whole arbitrary and crypto crap, I need to see some receipts.
It just, to me, it's a bit of misleading going on, especially with somebody saying that the number of ministries have been reduced, which is technically true. It has been.
Technically, but now we have a minister without portfolio.
We have 11 ministers, so we still have the exact same size.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
It's 10 cabinet. It's 11 ministers.
The Premier doesn't count as a minister.
No, but I'm saying it's 10 ministries.
Yes.
11 ministers.
Yes. Why?
This is where the misleading is coming.
Now here's the question that I have. What happened to Minister Weeks?
Well,
and I see here that sport is now under Minister Fago. Why?
Okay.
Why is labor? Why would sport be under the Minister of Labor and Community Affairs?
So it's been a smog around Uncle Weeks. A big smog where it's been relative silence on this issue.
Why?
There's been hearsay that it's because he was pursuing an investigation that the Premier did not want pursued. Now, this is hearsay. So we're really hoping to get some Carfax on this, because truthfully how it looks right now is very, 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 very messy. And it looks like a man who has a reputation of being very honorable, has a reputation of looking out for the young people, is now being shafted for looking into a spot in which he was not supposed to look. And I feel like as a minister, investigating and launching investigations within his ministry should be his purview. And he should be looking into things, especially when civil claims are being made against a person that is under his jurisdiction. So to me, I really hope that this is just hearsay, and that the Premier and or Cabinet is willing to speak up on this matter and clear it up. Because if not, and this situation goes down the way it looks like it's going down, I mean, I came across a quote, not a quote, a comment underneath the article where it says, capped, as in the PLP has capped an AG with 5 court cases against her, capped Wayne Keynes, who publicly embarrassed the island over Tittygate, made Zane De Silva a minister who has the Port Royal case against him and supports Dr. Braun and the $1.2 million payout, capped Walton Braun, who allegedly offered to settle the waterfront case with McLean for a fee, quote unquote, capped Jamal Simmons, who publicly threatened to kill people, quote unquote, and yet the man who wants to investigate the welfare of our children is let go. So that is a comment that I came across, and I feel like it encompasses a lot of the general overview of this situation, where it
doesn't look good.
It doesn't look good at all, no. And we're not going to say what is fact and what is not, because, again, we literally are here to commentate and to inquire for facts. We want this to be cleared up. We're not going to make allegations against people, but just know that this is the way things are looking right now.
It looks suspect, and the government has to address these questions, because why was Minister Weeks let go? What will Minister Simmons be doing now that he's a minister with that portfolio? Why are we paying him if he's not doing anything? I mean, I'm sure they'll find something for him to do, but also, why are the ministries being shifted? Now, it's not that I don't have a problem with Minister Dickinson being appointed as Minister of Finance. Frankly, I think he's great for the job, as far as I'm concerned. However, the question begs, it's almost like they took the ministries, laid them out, and was like, all right, you take this, you take this, you take this, but under this banner. You take this, even though it's unrelated, but under this. You take this, even though it's unrelated, but it's just confusing.
And it's two sources that have stepped up. Two sources, not one. Two sources that say that this move against Minister Weeks was because of this investigation.
It's been more than two sources, but
yeah,
two refutable
two
sources.
Quoted sources that have come forward, and they are not painting the Premier and Attorney General in a very good light. And I do hope that this is cleared up. I do.
I'm sorry, but I would not accept an answer saying that this was somehow in response to his sons and their recent incarceration. I wouldn't buy that.
That shouldn't reflect on a man.
This is what I'm saying. I don't think that even the average logically thinking voter would, buy that.
We cracked a few jokes.
Of course we did. But that's immaterial at this point. Yeah. What I'm saying now is we need to know. And don't tell me who am I to ask. I'm a voting citizen.
And the thing is,
we have a right to demand.
But we as Bermudians have constantly kind of tolerated this, even under the UBP and under the OBA's tenure, where people come in and they rejig their cabinet without much justification as to why they're rejigging it. And I think that we, under this Westminster system, have allowed that for a long time. And I do feel as though we need to change that for both parties. If you're rejigging your cabinet, you need to give an explanation as to why you're rejigging your cabinet. Like, we need to know why these funds are being allocated to these ministers and what made this minister more qualified than this other minister. We need to know whether they're coming on part-time, whether they're coming on full-time. This should be bare minimum response for the government. You know what I mean? If I'm going to change something and I know that it's the people's money, I should take the slight amount of time to explain why I made this decision. Because if you don't do that, then the inferences, which are happening right now, where people are now putting two and two together, and it's not painting a very pretty picture, will happen. Because the government has refused, and not just PRP, but governments before, have refused to be completely clear about why they changed the cabinet around. And we know that politics is politics. But if you are politicking, you better say you're politicking. Because if not, we're going to assume a spade is a spade. And right now, a spade looking like a spade. And that spade ain't nice. That spade dirty.
Old, rusty, rickety, splinters on the handle and shit. It's confusing.
Not to mention that it's been silence around that particular investigation before Minister Weeks was removed. And they didn't just remove him, but they dismantled his ministry.
You know what else has been silent lately from the government? Sugar tax. My sister had a party this weekend. Oh, it wasn't really a party. It was like a gathering of people. I bought a bottle of ginger beer for $6.55. $6.
That used to be the 6-pack.
And 55 cents.
That was a 6-pack. Oh yeah, that's almost a 6-pack. Used to be.
And now, Crow Lane was in the newspaper because the owner of Crow Lane Bakery has been saying that people are complaining about his prices. But this is the exact situation that we said was going to happen.
That's right. We literally said it.
We said it. We coded. When you do something like this, you are going to hurt local Bermudian businesses.
That's right. And we've been said that.
We've been said this.
And it hasn't even come into full swing yet.
This is what I'm saying. This is only at the 50% mark.
Because Marketplace's CEO said, you know, that, well, the president said that they were working through their shipment, and once they worked through that shipment and they reordered their stuff, prices will go up.
But even so, diet sodas are going up everywhere, even though they have no sugar in them. I've seen dozens of posts on Madge's List and Fun Talks chat group and everything saying, why is diet soda the same price as soda with sugar in it if it doesn't have any sugar in it? We don't understand. People are complaining because people, and sadly, people don't come down here don't complain about government policy unless it directly hurts their wallet, which it's doing. And I'm worried, and I would hope that the government would retract or amend the sugar tax, because it's all I've been hearing. I was in line in Phoenix the other day, and a lady was going to buy something, and she was like, "Wait a second, what do you mean? This is X amount of dollars." And the guy behind her was like, "Oh, well, the sugar tax went in." And then she's like, Sugar tax for what?" She said, "Oh, it's to stop diabetes." She's like, what?
It's not gonna stop diabetes.
No, it's not gonna stop diabetes.
It's a money grab, and because
we've already established why it's not gonna stop diabetes. We talked about that enough. But what I'm worried about, and what the average Bermudian needs to be worried about, is Bermudian bakeries will die. Now, I understand that some are eligible for leeway, but not all are eligible for leeway. I mean, apparently not Coeur d'Alene's not.
Well, the PLP said that they had released or have tried to work with the local entrepreneurs and the small businesses, but
that's not true.
Exactly. I don't see it though.
Because I was told, I'm not gonna say their name, but I was told by a local person that met with the government. They said, "Oh, you have to innovate."
Yeah, like that's it.
How do you innovate sugar?
It's candy.
Splenda?
Yeah, you can test that too, nice. And this is the issue. It's after the third speech right around the corner, probably done by the time this goes up. We are still hearing promises and giveaways. Oh, health insurance for people over 90. That's great.
Is it?
Ish.
Is it?
But again, what exactly is happening here with the children?
But
we have an issue happening right now with our children, and this is an issue that we harped on in the past as well. Lack of litigators for children, and now it's coming up to be civil claims against the director for abuse. So it's like we now can't get to a point.
Now we can't get too deep into that, because we need that situation to develop a little more before we fully speak on it. But it's still.
How can we be looking one way so constantly in this country? And a lot of folks hate to admit it, but the voter base here is majority elderly. I mean, yes, a lot of people like to say that, you know, it was a large turnout, one of the largest in history, but it was still only 30-something thousand voters that came out. So that leaves almost half the country unaccounted for, which means that almost half the country is disenfranchised with both parties. That means that it is both parties' responsibility to re-engage voters, which means that they need to start doing things that impact the everyday Bermudian, not just pandering to people who you know are going to vote. Because when these 9-year-olds pass away, the population of young people that will be paying into that account has dwindled to a point where there will be nothing left. And you're talking about giving free health care.
Every time the government has tried to introduce something free, it has backfired.
And they have to repeal it.
Backfired. From free buses, backfired.
They have to repeal it. They always have to take it back. They always have to take it back. They have done nothing for the health costs for seniors now. And the premiums that are going to be heavyweight, it's like health right now is in such a state.
But you know something funny?
Like,
these 90-year-olds that are getting free health insurance, they have pensions. You want to know who's not going to have a pension?
Them and us.
Us. Want to know why we don't have a pension? Because it's paying for 90-year-olds insurance.
Yeah, but the 90-year-olds have earned the pension.
Yes, they have.
That's the thing.
But by the time that we work to get our pension, and by the time we've earned it, they're going to be like, oh, sorry.
But the issue is that they are getting less.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And if people have worked hard before us, they deserve to be compensated adequately.
Exactly.
For that. But what is happening is that it's a scrape in the barrel, and we're paying them bare minimum. Some of them are having trouble surviving. People being left at hospitals, and we've been crying about that for a long time.
That was one of our first episodes. Go get your grandma.
Yeah. And it's come down to, you're going to either have to give people less or tax people more. That is where we are now.
Honestly, I feel that if we heightened taxes, but explained what they were for, and people felt the change. Perfect example. Actually, this is an episode of Oprah. Actually, she was in like Denmark or somewhere. Okay, and they were talking about how high their taxes are. They're like, yeah, we pay higher taxes, but we free healthcare. Free schools, at least taken care of. So clearly, it's obvious, and that's not the only country that said that. Several countries in the like Canada, I know some Canadians have said so, some Europeans, some Asian countries have said this. That they all like they would rather pay higher taxes for a healthier country. I don't mean like healthy as far as health, like physical health. I mean like as far as like economy, social, and everything. They would rather pay higher taxes for a working country than lower taxes for a crap one. I'm not calling us a crap country. I'm just saying
we have crap systems.
We have a crap system.
Exactly.
Now, what was that article that said that the senior population will be 1/4 of Bermuda in the next 15, 20 years?
Yeah, maybe larger than that.
Maybe larger.
We still haven't understood what this reshuffle, how will it benefit Bermudians? I
would have liked. Now, we'll both of us will be at the throne speech, so you know, we'll maybe this will be addressed, and I hope that it will be. However, this should have been addressed the day they announced the cabinet shuffle. It should have been like, all right, we're switching cabinet. Here's why. Because for governments, remember, you answer to the people. You need to explain to us why. But the problem is we as the people act like the students instead of the teacher.
We gotta be rapping knuckles.
Exactly. When we should be the teacher. The government is the student in this case because they have to do their work and we have to overlook their work.
And we sustain the government. We sustain the government. And right now, we have principals on what to rule, teachers that are saying they don't know how to mark in the new system, all these cabinet rejigs, and the Minister of Education
principals complaining
is
about
still
workloads.
In his position.
Education's going to shit, and the other man still has his job.
So why is the cabinet rejig?
I mean, tourism is doing all right, and Jamal lost his job. They gave it to Zane, who quit.
And before a lot of people say, well, you know, didn't Kenan resign to double standards for the OBA, this, that. Listen, he
resigned as premier, and then took a ministry, and then stayed working in that ministry until the OBA was voted out.
And it's like, we can go down the rabbit hole of tit for tat, because I know people will say that, because that's what's been said in the comments. And I just want to say that it's one thing to resign based off of your moral values and continue to do work. It's another thing to resign and become an MP and give up your ministry. And then just pop back without any...
No, not just that. To be popped back and given somebody else's ministry.
He was working in it all this time.
He was working in it. Why was Minister Simmons removed? We deserve to know.
And why was the ministry dissolved? Because, I mean, I read the article, and to me, it's a bunch of fluff. I mean, it's just...
It's a bunch of hogwash.
It's a lot of, oh, we streamline the government and stuff like that. I hear you. But it's not much discussion on the person. Like, I understand, okay, you explained why you did what you did to the ministries, barely. But there's no explanation as to the person. Why was this person put in charge of these ministries? Why? Like, where did the Ministry of Government Reform go?
Down the tubes with everything else, with that investigation, I suppose.
Has Minister Fogo completely reformed the government? Is the government reformed completely? Whereas we can now just kind of just toss that ministry to the background and give her youth and sport?
What other ministries can we toss to the background?
Like, and why is it that, you know, this cabinet office is now a separate ministry? You know what I mean? It's like, what, like, these are questions that we as taxpayers would like to know. And I don't see why we in Bermuda, like we always tell people, we give the reins to our government, we vote them in, and then we turn away. And then we have a huge population of people that do not vote. And then complain. It's like, it can't work. It's just like in the American system. And we're always lots of years behind. They all slapped at the wheel, and they got Trump.
And then because they got Trump, they saw a problem and voted the Democrats back into the House.
They woke up. And this is what we need to do. And I feel like the way the winds are going, more people are going to vote in this coming election than ever have before. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say that now openly and confidently. I believe that because that's how the winds are. You know, it's like people have gotten to that point now. People are getting more involved. And this is what we want. Everyone get involved.
But when the PLP is disenfranchised with the PLP, what's supposed to happen? Because as far as we were concerned, like we said, we had been harping on him for a while, but from what we had understood, especially after we had spoken to him, Minister Simmons was doing his job. So why is Zane doing it now?
And how?
Minister Weeks was doing his job.
And how is Minister Weeks out of a position and Minister Keynes is not? So
that's a good one.
This is where we are now. Questions need to be answered. Minister Keynes is a good man in my opinion, but he directly just embarrassed and defamed himself.
And us.
As a country. So why is it that one has a position and the other one doesn't? In lieu of this investigation. Do you see how that sounds? Do you see how that ding ding? You see how that's looking? How do you see how that's looking?
Doesn't look very good.
Because, you know,
it just seems like it's maddeningly unhelpful.
Yeah, we have I'm trying to piece together here without jumping to conclusions.
That's the problem. And this is why people jump to conclusions, because we're not presented with enough evidence. We're not presented with enough logic and enough reasoning. If the government said, hey, this is what's going on and this is why it's going on, even if we didn't like it, we'd be like, okay, we have an answer. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, to a certain extent, you have to trust that people are doing the job. You know, we don't get to see the inner workings of ministries like we should. But at a certain extent, you have to kind of give the benefit of the doubt that ministers are working. But if they refuse to justify their workload, if they refuse to justify their work ethic, it's just like any other job which we, the private citizen, is held to account. If our manager says, you need to tell me what you've been doing in these 8-hour shifts, I don't get to tell my manager, well, I worked hard. That's all you need to know. No, I have to tell him exactly what I did, because if he sees something that wasn't done, he's going to ask me to hold account for my work ethic. If we have to answer to our bosses and pay you, you have to answer to us. It's how it goes.
Because we're your bosses. That's why you're called civil servants.
Me included. I answer to you guys too.
Well, you gonna answer to me?
I answer to everybody.
Or the two new people. Won't be me anymore.
Yes, it will. Just via proxy. So, leave your comments below. Let us know what you think, because I know I'm really interested to hear the comments on this and what people have pieced together on their own, and whether or not we are crazy. Because sometimes we think we're just crazy, you know.
It's possible.